Candreva's cross, the goalkeeper can't get there! And Salernitana score with a fluke! Antonio Candreva, the former Inter player, has snatched a point for Salernitana, and no one in this stadium knows how.
Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight Season 2, Episode 33. We're your host Jake.
And Mint.
Mintoff is currently filling in for Matt, who finds himself down under in Australia, enjoying himself for a month. Bro, Mint, it's your third episode in a row. How do you feel?
It is. To be honest, I'm just wondering when this is all gonna end. But I'm here. This episode in general was tough to do in such a tight schedule. But here we are.
Yeah,
I know I've been getting paid.
No,
but
no.
You've given me some coffee and figolla. Figolla is a traditional Maltese sweet which we have during Easter, and it's probably the best thing you'll ever eat in your lives. Don't at me. And yeah, so thanks for that.
There we go. Okay. You were very excited at first to be filling in for Matt.
I was, and I realized how much work there is to do on the side.
Yeah, you told me.
I enjoy this, but it's a lot of work as well, apart from actually working.
Yeah. And you said this takes more work than your actual job.
It does. My job, I can just like slap my cock on the keyboard, and somehow with my job this gets done. This is actually requiring me to put a lot of effort and watch the games and analyze and this and that, and I mean it's fun. I mean this is the fun part. The preparing part is not so fun. It's like I'm heading for an exam.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you have to be prepared, or you'll find me here with my notes. Fucking.
You have all these statistics, and I'll be like, interesting. I have none of these.
Okay, so let's get to the rundown. Then we'll go to the game by game, of course, analysis. So the first game we're going to be covering is Lazio 2, Juventus 1, followed by Lecce 1, Napoli 2, Milan drew to Empoli 0-0, Torino lost to Roma 1-0, classic Mourinho victory over there. Inter were stunned by Candreva, who scored our goal of the week this time round. It was a fluke goal, but still an amazing goal regardless, 1-1 over there.
Yeah.
Bologna beat Atalanta 2-0, then continued their red-hot form. Fiorentina slip up to Spezia, who played an impressive game of football, 1-1 over there. Verona 2, your babies Sassuolo 1. We'll get into that, can't wait to discuss that one with you.
I'm sure you will.
Udinese 2, Monza 2, Sampdoria 2, Cremonese 3. That's the rundown. Now, before we move on, I feel the need to address our bet, as I forgot to do it in the intro. We lost our bet this week. We lost €10.
No way.
Yeah.
You've lost a bet?
we bet that there would be a draw or a Sampdoria victory against Cremonese.
I mean,
we bet
to be fair,
a
with
draw
you,
or a Sassuolo victory. Yeah.
To be fair with you there.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was ever a bet to bet on Sampdoria, it was this bet.
And they've been...
And they've still let you down.
Yeah, bro. Bro. I've been fucking saying that Sampdoria are playing well. The only thing that's missing is the result for the past 4 months, I think.
I mean, they started the game well as well. And I mean, they had Cremonese's number, but then...
Yeah.
Then, you know...
It's just crazy how I went for what in my eyes was such a safe bet and I got nothing right. You know, both draw or wins were wrong.
I mean, the Sassuolo bet was safe.
No,
especially, yes, historically, like Verona is an easier team for Sassuolo, for example, and Sassuolo have like 4 wins in 6 games. So I mean, based off that alone, that's a safe-ish bet.
Yeah, but when Concili's in goal, it's never quite safe, is it?
Let's not shit on him too much. But in this game, I will shit on him. However, he is a good keeper.
No, he's great.
But I just want to know.
Perhaps it's...
How many aperitivos he took before the game, okay? Because something was up there.
Perhaps it's time to start using the past tense.
That he's been good?
That he was good. That's the present perfect.
Okay, teacher. I'm sorry about my lack of grammar, but
All right.
You dicked me a bit hard there.
Don't worry, we'll get into it. So the first game, yes, to keep up with our bets, please follow us at Serie A Spotlight on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever you get anything.
It doesn't really make a difference.
So let's get into it. Lazio 2, Juventus 1. This was the big match of the weekend on a Saturday night. Everything that happened led up to this moment, and what a match it was. Mm-hmm. Beautiful scenes over there. Of course, you had the flags waving, the lights up in the air. You had the songs being sung, the eagle doing its laps around the Olimpico. It was crazy, lovely scenes over there.
I'm sure one day the eagle just dies on the pitch.
That would be very morbid. Former Juventus manager Maurizio Sarri got his first ever victory over Juventus since leaving the club
Holy
3.5 years ago after his
wow.
Scudetto winning season. So yes, that was actually Sarri's first victory.
Damn.
Since then, yes. Coming into this game, Lazio... Yeah, he popped his damn cherry. Coming into this game, Lazio had only earned 2 points in their previous 6 Serie A matches against Juventus with 2 draws and 4 losses, and they conceded 2 goals in 5 of those meetings. So it's safe to say that Juventus had Lazio's number up until this final round over here. Lazio's last victory against Juventus in these conditions was on December 7th, 2019. It was a 3-1 victory. Goal scorers were Luis Felipe, Milinkovic-Savic and Caicedo. For Juve, it was Ronaldo who scored. This is a fun fact I decided to prepare. I don't know why I have just a menu of statistics over here.
You do, man. I'm realizing how you have so many statistics compared to what I have.
That's fine.
I have the bare minimum here.
Some people find them tedious, so balance is key. Only Barcelona have kept more clean sheets than Lazio and Juventus in the big 5 leagues this season. Barcelona have 20 and Juve and Lazio both have 17.
Clean sheets, right?
Clean sheets, yeah. So that's a nice little statistic.
Solid stat.
And coming into this game, Lazio had 6 in a row clean sheets, so that's quite
Holy
nice.
crap.
Yes. Fun fact about this game saw the player with the most Serie A free kick goals in the last 5 seasons, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, with 7, against the player who's in second place, with Arkadiusz Milik with 4.
I always find his name so ridiculous.
Arcadius, eh?
Yes.
It's like the place in Gozo where you buy alcohol.
I don't know, I always think about arcade games personally, but fair enough.
So Allegri was not present due to the flu, of course. It was the interim manager, the what do you call him? Not interim, is it? Interim manager who took over?
Assistant coach,
The assistant coach, yes, that's the one.
Interim
takes
is when he's been fired,
yes.
and they need someone quick fire to bring them in.
You're absolutely right. That's 1-1 over there with the present perfect and the interim.
Get shot on, bitch.
This whole episode is going to be a contest.
I'm keeping tabs.
So Lazio set up their 4-3-3 formation with Provedel in goal, Hisai on the left, Marisic on the right, with Romagnoli and Casale as a centre-back partnership. The midfield three consisted of Luis Alberto, Cataldi and Milinkovic-Savic. Zaccagni was out on the left, Felipe Anderson on the right, with Immobile up front. For Juventus, it was Szczesny in goal in their 3-5-1-1 formation with Sandro, Bremer and Gatti at the back, Quadrado out on the right, Kostic on the left, Rabiot, Locatelli and Fagioli were in the middle, with Di Maria playing behind Vlahovic. So Juve played an extreme low block, and halfway through the first half, Lazio recorded 70% ball possession, while Vlahovic was totally isolated up front. In the 38th minute, the first goal came through Sergej Milinkovic-Savic as Zaccagni crossed the ball perfectly to the big Serbian man who was in a tussle with Alexandro. Just before the ball arrived to SMS, Alexandro randomly dolphin dived out of the way, allowing Sergej Milinkovic-Savic to control the ball and finish. Very, very strange defending there by Alexandro.
Before I interrupt you for that, the 12th time today,
Please.
I'm just going to say that this game week in particular was filled with comical goals.
Yes.
And this one starts with that. If anyone's interested, and I'll end with this, if you're bored at work or just waiting for something, please, I plead you to go check the statistics, the highlights on YouTube of this game week, and you'll see the most comical goals in a game week I've ever seen.
It's true, bro. It's like that song, no?
I just feel like there was a meme this week. It's a total meme, but anyways.
A bit of a joke weekend, wasn't it? And everything was so crammed as well. All the games came over 2 days. So in the 42nd minute, there was a good reaction from Juventus as Di Maria swung in a corner and Bremer headed it, forcing a good reflex save by Provedel, but Rabiot was there to guide the ball into the back of net. I'm going to say guide because he used his toe, his knee and his head to get it in eventually. It was quite chaotic over there.
Whatever it takes, man.
Yeah, whatever it takes, just get it over.
Just put it in.
In the 53rd... In the 53rd minute, there was a magnificent team goal by Lazio, who worked their way forward. Eventually, Felipe Anderson played the ball to Luis Alberto, who flicked it behind him, to Zaccagni, who finished expertly. A similar finish to El Shaarawy's last week, actually.
I think they took a... What's the saying? You take something from the book, or how you know what the hell does it say? Like you
Our
take
listeners right now are like, these guys are so sweet. English isn't their first language.
It actually is. They take a number out of your book.
Yes. I guess that's it.
That's
sure.
it.
Let's go for that one.
You know what?
They took a page, a chapter, a page out of the book.
How eloquent I am, right?
Eloquent, bro. Very well said. This is gonna be unfiltered and raw, guys. This episode, we're not editing anything. You're gonna get it the way it came.
If I fart, I'm sorry.
Yes, there we go. Wait, did you even order food, by the way?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
He's gonna leave me hungry. It's fine.
Yeah, that's it. You have your figolli.
I have it already.
In the 55th minute, just 2 minutes after Zaccagni's strike, Sergei Milinkovic-Savic squared it to Zaccagni again, who scored, but he was deemed to be in an offside.
That was very
position.
close, actually.
Yeah,
that was just inches away from the 3-3-1.
It really was. Juve had opportunities to equalise, particularly through Vlahovic and Fagioli, but they both skied their efforts, and to be honest with you, they really couldn't get into this game. They left it too late, in my opinion. Their goal in the 42nd minute was Juve's first shot on target this game.
Jesus.
Yeah, but an interesting stat...
Ooh, Jake with the stats again.
...is, let me try to find it. So... I mentioned that Lazio had 70% ball possession, right, in the first 30 minutes of the game. The match ended with equal possession and Juventus outshooting Lazio 11-9, even though Lazio seemed to be in control for the vast majority of the game. So
interesting.
It's just a game of two halves by Juve, to be honest with you.
I just feel like we spoke about last week. I just feel that the game plan for Juve really is contain, and then explode towards the end of the match, or at least in the second half. After the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, they really come to life.
Yeah.
I think that seems to be the plan. But of course, when you concede 2 within those 50 minutes, then you're playing catch up.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like they try to give their opponents a false sense of security.
To make you feel like you're in the game, and then they switch on, and then they fuck you. It's just Kostic on the break, Di Maria, Chiesa, and then they just punish you immediately. Yeah.
And in fact, the statistical change was brought about when Di Maria and Chiesa played in a familiar wide role. They actually changed position as the game went on to try to adapt to this Lazio side, who really played well. This win prevented Juve from moving a point within 6th place, Atalanta and the European spot. Only to add to that, Juve couldn't take advantage of 3 of their 4 direct opponents, flopping in the standings basically, with Atalanta, Milan and Inter all dropping points this weekend. Where do you think it went wrong for Juve, bro?
I think this went wrong in the game plan, like we've been saying. I think that they maybe underestimated Lazio in a sense that they thought that. I really genuinely feel like they thought they had this game before it started. Almost, I don't even know why. I feel like they really underestimated them. I'm repeating myself, but
Could it be a case of overestimating them, perhaps respecting them too much to not even try to attack them? First shot on target in the 42nd minute.
I really believe that. That they came into this probably wanting to get an early goal, but I feel like Lazio were so turned on from the start that they had no choice almost. Lazio were all over them. They were constantly battering them. And I feel like that maybe was something that Juve didn't prepare for too well, because they weren't containing with. If you play with the logic that you're gonna contain the team and then you're gonna explode, then you should be well suited, well adapted to handle that and to handle that intensity, and they definitely weren't. Especially defensively.
It's true.
So I feel that's where it went wrong, because then when they did change their game plan, it was it's a little too late. Maybe Lazio started to sit back, but you could see that they had the players to outperform them, and I feel like they weren't utilized. And how many times are they not going to use Vlahovic in games, man?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck's the point in buying the striker then?
Honestly,
if you're not going to use him?
Listen to this statistic, man. Dusan Vlahovic touched the ball 14 times in 63 minutes. Vlahovic and Milik combined touched the ball a total of 22 times this game.
Jesus.
Yeah, bro,
That's
quite
not
bad.
Good for a top striker.
Yeah, and Juve have scored only 13 away goals in Serie A.
But like we were saying, Juve are back to winning those 1-0s and winning cheap, winning
pragmatically.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. So typically when they get those wins, it's their defensive solidarity, that stands out. Like that nine clean sheet period in a row. What was it? Now you look at the goals they conceded. They were two massive individual errors. You look at the first one. You have Sandro diving out of the way like an amateur. I'm sorry, like comically. Like what the fuck is he doing? And in the second one, you have Cuadrado rushing the Luis Alberto who's receiving the ball. Luis Alberto, who's known to be a magician, a wizard on the ball, completely leaving Zaccagni, one of the hottest players, free on the wing.
I don't know whether that one's a real defensive foul. I agree with you about the first one. That was just a joke. I have no idea what the fuck Alexandra was doing. The second one, I think, it was just a really well planned, well executed move. And then it was just Juve trying to play catch up when it was way too late.
Yes, Zaccagni said that they had tried it in training, but the defender intercepted the ball. They had tried it a day before. So it's a little bit of a jab.
Interesting.
Are you, as a person, Luke Mintoff, does it intrigue you at all that Vlahovic has disabled his Instagram?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
With 2 or 3 million followers, something like that.
I had
and
no
he's
idea
taken
about
it
that.
down. Yeah. He suffered an injury recently, no? Do you think these things could be looked into? Do you think it's all fun that people look into these things, or do you think there's actually substance behind it sometimes?
In what sense look into them? Because he sent off his profile.
People look at it and say, like I saw comments, scrolling through the comments of the news article, people saying this is a poor mentality. Can't handle the pressure. Because people are probably...
I mean, depends on the kind of person you are. If I was that kind of person, and in the limited sports that I do, and it's a totally different sport, I play handball. I mean, I can easily get influenced and it will easily get into my head. I mean, just last week I had a bad performance and it didn't help me that I was, in my own head. And imagine I'm a professional sportsman and I have to deal with constant critique whenever I don't show up. I personally would probably do the same. Yes. I'd need a break from social media. I need a break from dealing with it, and then when I'm ready to deal with it again, I would come back. But yeah.
Apparently, reports say that he has done this already before in his days at Fiorentina when he was going through a bit of a drought. Apparently, it's a mental clarity thing, exactly like you're saying.
Fair enough.
Not really.
Then I fully understand it.
Especially getting a knock because he got injured this game. He must be very frustrated right now.
He must be. Yeah.
We saw flashes this game of the Chiesa we had come to know, my brother.
We did.
It was direct attacking the byline, It was
it's nice to see. It's nice to see. I hope we see more of it in the last 10 games of the season. No, 8 games. Sorry, 8 games of the season.
So we talked a bit about Juve over there. Lazio, of course, full of praise for Lazio. Are they really the best of the rest?
I mean, we spoke about this. I think it was on a WhatsApp group. No, I mean, we alluded to this point. Lazio definitely are based off the team they have.
Yes.
I mean, and again, I'm not saying that Juve aren't the second best team, but they should be with the team that they have.
Yeah.
But Lazio, in my opinion, only having a starting 11. Okay, maybe there are 3 or 4 players who can come in and put in a shift. You have Pedro, you have Vecino, you have
honestly,
you have Lazzari and so on. But I feel like with that team, being second is a huge achievement, and they should be happy, especially with their main striker being injured half the season as well. Yeah. Having to play Felipe Anderson, who's not known for playing as a false 9, having to play there. I mean, there are a lot of things that shouldn't. Luis Alberto at the beginning of the season was completely ostracized.
Yes.
So it just proves the point. This team shouldn't be second, but they are because they're playing good football.
Yes.
And they are killing teams when they have a chance.
Absolutely, bro. Totally agreed. The lack of depth was a point I was going to address. It does favor them, Lotito and Lazio in general. The fact that Sarri has never been a guy to really make many substitutions or really change personnel around, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
3 substitutions maximum each game.
he must really feel that the team he has on the pitch is the team that will win the game. And they must be very well professionally fit. I mean, they're doing 90 minutes per game almost.
That's true. Before I get to the table, is there anything you'd like to say about Lazio and Juve particularly, or this game, bro? Any observations?
Overall, I think we've gone over them. I think I want to talk a bit about, but I think it's going to come up in later on in the episode. I just want to talk about the top 4 in general. So we'll get to that when it comes. But yeah, can you let us know what's happening in the table? Where are Lazio, dude?
Yes, I would love to, but my computer has frozen.
Shall I do it for you, my friend?
Yes, please, my friend.
So we have Lazio in second with 58 points, and we have Juve sitting in 7th with 44.
You're up, bro.
Am I up? And we have Lecce hosting Napoli in a scoreline of 1-2. Some interesting stats before we kick off into the lineups and into the game itself. We have got Lecce with, by the way, the worst form in the league in the last 5 game weeks, with 0 wins, 0 draws, and 5 losses. And then we have Napoli with 4 wins, 0 draws, and 1 loss. Napoli are historically favoured in this encounter with 6 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses versus Lecce. And one interesting thing to point out to is one thing I wanted to speak a little bit about before we get into the game. Based off how Lecce has progressively gotten worse over the season, have they been found out? That's my question to you.
Maybe. They are a team that tend to shock their opponents by pressing very aggressively early on.
Yeah.
And they got quite a bit of success against the big teams, especially early on this season.
Yeah.
So it could be the case. It could also be the case that the season is long. Games can be crammed. They don't have a particularly deep squad. It could be fatigue, it could be form as well. I feel like many of their players were actually overachieving, particularly in the forward line. Like, Cisse never really hit the ground running. Colombo is good in flashes. He's still a young youth product. So at the end of the day, the creative spark is all in the hands of Strefezza. And he isn't a player with great Serie A experience.
He didn't even start this week.
He didn't even start this week. There we go. So that could be the case. I am slightly concerned about them.
They're starting to look bad. And it's starting to look a little bit scary because they're not too far away from the drop zone now.
Yeah, they're on 27 points, right?
Yes, which is 5 points away from Verona.
Yeah, people have been relegated with 27 points.
Of course, it has happened many a time. But anywho, a few other things to point out to is that Napoli have had the most 10-plus pass sequences in open play of any side in Serie A this season with 486, whilst Lecce has the fewest with 69.
Nice.
That is, first of all, a nice little dig at 69, but apart from that, it's a very low number for a team in the top flight. Furthermore, we have something which could have happened in this game week is with the fact that Napoli could have lost 2 consecutive games in a row since December 21. And I say that there was a risk of that based off how abysmal they were in the previous game and how coming into this game, they could have definitely had morale issues and Lecce could have definitely exploited that. But it wasn't the case. A few things to point out to in the starting lineups were that Osimhen was still injured for the incoming Raspadori, and Elmas came in for Zelensky, who's probably being rested for the Champions League. Umtiti for Lecce came back in from injury. Male was back in the starting 11 in exchange for Blin. Di Francesca and Uda came in for Strefezza and Banda, a heavily altered Lecce side. To go over the lineups now, we have a 4-3-3 for Lecce with Falcone at the back in goal. We have Gallo, Umtiti, Bashkirotto and Jondre. In defense, we have Male, Hjulmund and Gonzalez in the midfield, Di Francesco, Cisse and Udan up front. On the other side, we have Napoli also in a 4-3-3 formation with Raspadori, Kvaratskhelia and Lozano up front. We have Elmas, Lobotka and Anguissa in the center of the midfield. And then we've got Rui, Kim, Rahmani and Di Lorenzo as defenders with Mere in goal. So, a couple of more things to mention is, well, actually my last point to mention before we go over the highlights is that with so many changes in Lecce's team, against such a top team, well, the top team, is was Baroni running out of ideas? Why would you alter a team so heavily again? Sometimes partially replacing some of your top players against the best team in the league. Like what's the mindset there?
I think maybe his idea was let's hold out and try to get them with an impact sub.
Maybe
try
I
to
think
press,
that's very wishful thinking against a team which just got wrecked and needed an answer, a desperate answer.
Or maybe it could be something as simple as they're probably preparing for Strefezza mainly. Let's not start Strefezza to see if we can cause some confusion.
He's their main hope.
I know it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make it's a weird one to me. But anyway,
it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad. Napoli didn't have their best game of the year, but still, I mean, I don't know. It's what it is. It's happened, and it was just a point I wanted to mention. Yeah. Why make that change? But there may be reasons, and I mean, probably there's stuff which I can't see from face value. To start with the game now itself, Lecce started the game actually pretty well, to be honest with you. They contained Napoli for the first few minutes, and they even came close to scoring pretty early on when the ball was floated into the box. And Milan nearly dinked the ball over Mere, which was well saved, to be fair with you. Mere had a good game this game week overall. But then 1-0 did occur in the 18th minute after a free kick set piece failed to materialize for Napoli. Kim received the ball on the edge of the right-hand side of the box. He played the pass to Lozano, who then gives it to Anguissa. Kim then opens himself up on the right-hand flank for a return pass. He then unleashes a good cross into the box, and a lovely header from Di Lorenzo, giving Falcone no chance. 1-0. Very well executed goal, a great goal from the captain, and it was a nice goal to see. Napoli could have then made it 2 or 3 goals in the first half, but there were good saves from Falcone to keep it 1-0. In the second half, we have the second goal of the game, 1-1 in the 52nd minute, another set piece, this game leading to a goal. A sweeping ball goes all the way from the far post. This was a free kick way out from about 40 yards out. Baschirotto receives the ball way out on the far post. He wins the ball, of course, with his strength. He then heads the ball back to his teammates in the center of the box. Cisse then headers the ball onto the crossbar. It falls back into the middle of the 6-yard area where Di Francesco manages to gather the ball and slots it home. Very well executed finish. Good reactions from Di Francesco. It's always nice when this guy scores. He's such a likable character.
It means a lot to him every goal.
Every goal, you just see it on his face. Yeah. You just can't not like the guy. But it was actually a well executed goal from Lecce. I mean, they had a plan there and it definitely worked. And Baschirotto was once again fundamental in leading up to a goal. So. Yeah. It was pretty huge. And then just 9 minutes later, 2-1. And I think this really kind of helps to understand why Lecce are struggling so much. Kvaratskhelia gets the ball and he manages to tee up a cross for Mario Rui on the edge of the area, who then whips a strong cross towards goal. Gallo, who is flat-footed, basically knees the ball towards his own goal and deflects it into goal. But Falcone should have definitely caught the ball, and it simply slips out of his hands. Maybe he wasn't expecting the goal. He wasn't expecting the ball to happen, to land where it landed, and it almost looked like in slow motion. It just slips out of his fingertips and just goes in. It was a really That was a real comical goal.
We should count them. That's the second one.
That's the
already.
second comical goal
Two
this
games,
week.
two
And honestly,
comical goals.
it was hilarious. Please go watch it and just shake your heads in
And
disbelief.
Falcone has been doing so well. He actually
has.
got a call up to the Italian national
He had a
team.
howler. He had a howler.
Yeah, he had a
There were a
howler.
few more chances in this game, either to increase the scoreline or to come draw. But then in the end, it remained the same. A few talking points. Napoli come back to winning ways, which is very important for them. But I think, which is important to note, they still struggle without Osimhen. And
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't their best performance by far, and you can see that their talisman isn't there and they're struggling. And I wanted to make a little point, and I wanted to maybe suck up my pride and maybe agree with you that maybe Osimhen is their top of the season. Kvara hasn't been playing too well in the last 2 games. Arguably, it's only 2 games, so you can't be too sensationalist and say, okay, he's not the top anymore.
Yeah.
But he isn't the same player without Osimhen up front. So maybe Osimhen is in fact giving him that space and that opportunity to really excel.
Yes, bro. Osimhen adds a totally new dynamic up front that
He does.
allows them to attack in many different ways that they simply can't do with Raspadori or Simeone up front. Granted, again, deployable players, good players, but there are no Victor Osimhen. Victor Osimhen right now, I think, is a top 5 striker in the world at the moment.
I maybe even go top 3, but he's up there. Let's not be too sensationalist, but he's definitely up there. 100%.
Yeah. And also now bad news for Napoli as Raspadori's training individually.
All their strikers are now
out.
injured.
Yes.
All of them.
And they play Milan on Wednesday.
I think they're gonna have to result in maybe Elmas playing a false nine or maybe Lozano.
Yeah.
Something's gonna have to happen. We'll see. It's looking dire for them now. But
at this point, with Lozano just trying to run in behind Tomori and Kier, that might not be a bad shout.
it might not be
honestly.
the worst thing in the world. And one other point is the league almost over now.
The league's
with
over.
with Milan and Inter losing points, or with Roma and Lazio kind of still in rejuvenating form. Is it not over yet? This was my point. You know, Roma and Lazio are looking better and better each game week. Napoli are arguably worse without Osimhen. Of course, it's theirs to lose now, but with 2 big teams like Inter and Milan going out, they're basically out of the running, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's all truly over now?
No, I feel like it's done and dusted today. I don't think anyone really believes, to be honest with you. And it'll take pretty much Napoli need to lose every single game that's left, no? Pretty much, mathematically. Like, they have to lose most of them.
They have to lose a lot
and
of games.
I can't see that happening. No, I think Napoli have won the league already. They say it ain't over till the fat lady sings, but trust me, she been singing, bro.
I think she has been singing, yes. But yeah, it's an interesting point. One thing else to mention is that if Lazio and Roma keep this up and Juve get their points back, Inter and Milan won't have Champions League football.
Yes.
I will say that Milan, I still believe in them very much, and I still think that they will remain in the top 4. I feel like Roma will eventually creep out. It's my opinion, but it's a dangerous position for both of them right now.
I mean, if you, the scary thing about looking at this top 4 right now is when you look at the managers, right? Because
They're all winners there.
They're all winners. Like you look at okay, so you have Napoli. Spalletti is known to be the top 4 specialist. No, he would get you top 4 back in the day. Now he's going to win you the league, but he's a top 4 specialist. You look at Sarri again, a guy who's used to playing in European tournaments, a manager who's used to finishing top 4 in the league. Mourinho.
Another
guy. Yeah, you look at Allegri, another guy.
Winner.
You look at,
It's scary.
tough, man.
It's very scary.
And yes, bro, I don't know if Milan even have an edge over Roma right now. Roma seem to have nailed this street smart approach in just kind of killing the games off expertly.
And defensively, they look so good.
They're good.
They look so good defensively.
Honestly,
I mean,
and
like,
the defenders aren't even that great, bar Smalling maybe, but
I think they're coherent though.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
definitely. Yeah.
You don't have to be the best to be good. I mean, you don't have to be the best defensive team.
Yeah.
You have to work well together.
Totally agree.
So yeah, that's mostly it from my side. We'll just go over the standings. We have Napoli still in first with 74 points, and now we have Lecce falling down to 16th with 27 points, just 1 point above Spezia in 17th.
The next game we're going to be covering, of course, I had to be the one to cover this one, was Milan nil Empoli nil. Milan had won their previous 4 Serie A matches against Empoli, but historically, they have never won 5 in a row against them in Serie A. The statistic is too powerful. If something has never happened, chances are it won't happen. Now, Milan failed to score against Empoli this time round. Empoli's last Serie A clean sheet against Milan was back in October 2007 when they won 1-0 at the Meazza thanks to a goal by Luca Saudati. Since then, Milan have scored 27 goals in 12 games against Empoli, 2.3 goals per game on average. Not today. AC Milan have had the most direct attacks of any side in Serie A this season, 74, while Empoli have had only 29, the second fewest ahead of Sampdoria. So this was literally the best offensive weapon against the second worst offensive weapon in the league. For Milan, it was Stefano Pioli's 4-2-3-1 formation over here, or rather 4-3-3, depending on how you look at it. Manian was in goal, Teo Hernandez on the left, Calabria on the right, with Malik Chow and Tomori as the centre-back duo. The midfield double pivot was Pobega and Tonali, with Rebic out on the left, Salamakers on the right, Benacer as the trequartista, and Origi as the striker. Of course, those three, Pobega, Tonali, and Benacer, would shift for the entirety of the game. Pobega taking that advanced position quite often. I see you giggling when I said the word Origi, bro. Trust me, I feel like crying, man. I feel like crying with this guy. But anyway, for Empoli it was a 4-3-1-2 formation with Perizan in goal, Ebuehi on the right, Parisi on the left, Luperto and De Winter with the centre-back duo. Fazzini continued his good form in the middle with Marin and Bandinelli, Baldanzi playing behind Caputo and Piccoli. They all put in a shift, these Empoli guys. They all ran and worked.
They played as a team. They played as a unit, maybe better than a team is a way to put it.
Now, Milan had 23 attempts to Empoli's 2 attempts. Empoli only had 1 shot on target. Milan had 70% ball possession. Milan had a penalty awarded that was... no, sorry. Milan had a penalty that is said to should have... God, I can't English.
Milan were meant to be given a penalty.
But not... It is said that Milan were meant to be given a penalty. Because it was controversial.
Yeah, it was a controversial penalty decision.
Yeah, and that came out in the second half when Theo Hernandez was stripped on the edge of the area, or on the line of the box. But to me, looking at these incidents, it's for the birds. It's useless. Origi missed a very good opportunity with a back heel spin, kind of a pirouette.
Very good chance.
Very good chance.
Very good finish.
Yes. Saturday night and you move like a piece of shit. Giroud scored, but it was with his elbow and it didn't count, of course.
Were you freaking out when he scored?
I was freaking out. I lost my voice a bit. I'm still a bit hoarse.
Oh, shit.
From that moment. Then went to VAR. I saw it immediately, and then as soon as the replay came on, I'm like, oh God, that's his hand. But whatever. What do you think, bro? Is depth a problem for Milan? Let me ask you a more leading question. Is depth a problem?
I don't think depth's a massive issue. I just feel like this is Milan's season. A really good performance, and then they can't really. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've obviously watched Milan much more than me, but I haven't seen that continuity this season. They'll have a good game, and then the next game they'll maybe still win, but it won't be as convincing, and it's a little bit. It's a little bit like,
sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Basically, yeah. I mean, that's a good way to put it if you're Gattuso. I mean, he is an ex-Milan, so I think I'll take his word for it.
Yeah. Bro, totally. Milan have definitely been streaky, and sometimes it looks like it could be a lack of motivation. Sometimes it looks like fatigue. You can't. Sometimes it's luck. Like this game, this Empoli game. I don't know, but statistically, not even statistically. You look at the performance on the pitch. Milan probably deserved to win this one.
Yeah.
But again, you can't look at a Minnow side like Empoli, who's set up to do exactly this, and they managed to do it to perfection, and say that they deserve to lose, because that wouldn't be fair either.
No,
so credit to Paolo Zanetti as well.
No,
Was very humble.
And their defense was solid this game.
It really was.
And like I said, they played as a unit. They had a goal, they had an objective, and well, they accomplished. I think they did definitely played for a draw today.
Yes.
Well, in that day, actually, sorry.
For sure. For Milan, Pioli perhaps rotated a bit too heavily, though. Huh?
I don't think. I think Giroud should have started.
Yeah. Why are you okay? So let's say
I don't think Rebbe should have started. I don't think Rebbe should have started after not playing for so long. To give him a call up.
Yeah.
Against an Empoli side, I don't know, man. I think there were a lot of gambles here. Pobega back. There's way too many. You can get away with one of those players starting, but not three after just crushing Napoli.
Yeah.
You can't.
He's obviously thinking about the Champions League.
Fair enough.
Right?
But you're also risking,
But I do agree with you.
I mean, at this rate, no offense, but I don't think you're going to win the Champions League. It would be a historic moment, and I think it would be something for the actual insanity of football. I think the priority should be the league.
But bro, the weird thing is that when you look at the Champions Leagues that Milan have won, and you look at their domestic form, it was always like this. Milan have hardly ever done the double.
Fair. I mean,
it's really strange. So, like, maybe it is something that's deeply rooted in the DNA, something that we can't really explain, something that's impalpable.
I just feel it's a very risky game. It's a very risky game. Yeah, you're gonna have hard fixture against Napoli, and the next fixture is not gonna be easy either.
Yeah. Bologna.
And then you're gonna, if you even beat Napoli in the Champions League, you're gonna have either Inter or Benfica, which are no jokes either.
Yeah, no jokes. Could have been worse, but no jokes.
Inter Milan this season. I mean, that's gonna get into your head. Then they've bested you a number of times.
True. For me, bro, I totally agree with your point on perhaps not starting all these guys together. If you have Brahim Diaz and Leao, who have both suffered knocks, so maybe it's best to rest them before the Champions League.
Bring in Giroud,
exactly, keep Giroud in. Keep someone who has actually scored more than 2 goals this season. That would have been splendid. Now, yes, 4 million a season is what Divock Origi is earning. He has failed to establish himself. He always looks like he's one step behind in the link-up play, be it in the box, He actually has started to receive boos from the fans.
I mean, no shit, man. He's been flop of the season.
Yeah. When it comes to your point before, by the way, of Milan rotating and winning and then not exactly playing well and whatever after rotating, Milan have made 5 changes to their starting 11 in 9 games. Only 4 of them, however, ended in wins.
So basically, that if you look at that statistic, it's a win every other game.
Yeah.
So that's just basically proving the point here.
True. Nice to see, however, that Milan were quite defensively sound with their 4-2-3-1 formation, although they were against an opponent who isn't really going to trouble you.
No.
70% possession and conceding only 1 shot on target. That's very nice. Zanetti, as I mentioned before, said that he isn't embarrassed to admit taking a conservative approach against Milan. He said that you can't give Milan space or they'll destroy you, so he tried to keep everything tight with the Empoli side. They practiced fighting for every ball and keeping the pace as low as possible. That was their game plan. That was their game plan coming into the game, and he said it himself. Zanetti also praised Perizan, the goalkeeper, who had a very good game this time round, saying that he is filling in for the best goalkeeper in Serie A at the moment, of course, Guillermo Vicario. And he said that if Vicario does the part, the replacement's already there.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
that is nice to see. He also praised De Winter, who had a great game. He plays better in one-offs than he does when given consistent game time. He was a player who was playing in Serie A last season, De Winter. So there's a massive step up for him, and shout out. He had a very good game as well. Personally, yes, not much left to add to this game. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I was actually waiting for you to speak about the highlights, but there aren't any highlights.
There aren't any highlights.
So I agree. I mean, there's no point to go over. I think we've mentioned all the points. We've talked about what the issues are. So I think let's wrap it there. Unless you have anything else to.
No, let's just see what happens on Wednesday. I'm very excited to watch that game.
It's gonna be feisty.
Yeah, definitely. After that 4-0 just adds an extra layer of fucking juicy goodness, dude. That's what it does. So Milan are currently 4th with 52 points, while Empoli are 14th with 32 points, bro.
Yes, sir. So we're off to the next game. It is Torino 0, Roma 1. We have we have some stats as per usual for this game. We have Torino coming in with 2 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses, where Roma come in with 2 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. Here we go. Very, very balanced form-wise. Not so very balanced historically-wise. We have Roma with 7 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw against Torino. So we can see that historically here, Roma are the favourites and always find a way to get the one up above Torino, excuse me. We have a few changes as well for the starting lineups in this match. We've got Giannetis. I'm not too sure how to
say. Giannetis.
He's from Lithuania, so probably it's pronounced totally different. Yeah. But Giannetis is replacing Ilicic or Inetti in the middle of the pitch in midfield. Other than that, they have a very standard formation for Torino. Whereas we have a couple of changes for Roma. We now seem to have Llorente kind of benching Ibanez at the back. He's been partnering up with Smalling and Mancini and is putting in a shift there. We have El Shaarawy back in the starting lineup, which was interesting as well. He's mostly come on as a super sub, so he was given the nod for this game. And we also have Solbakken starting as a striker up front. Two small points I wanted to mention was, we mentioned last week that Abrahams is no longer the Pupino of Mourinho.
Yes.
Is this a clear example of your point, or is this squad rotation? Because Torino is no team you want to squad rotate around.
No, definitely not, right? That's a very good point. I feel like maybe he wanted something different, up front this game.
Okay.
Then
so you don't think it's slowly Mourinho giving up on Abrahams then?
No, I do think that he's slowly giving up on Abraham. Was Belotti injured this game?
I'm not too sure to be honest. I haven't checked that out, but
okay.
I don't believe he was. Believe he was.
Maybe he wanted to try something more fluid. Okay. It's no myth that Abraham hasn't had the best season.
Yeah. Fair enough. And one other thing to mention is that I just wanted to speak about El Shaarawy this season. Overall, he's been really good. He's been, for a guy who a couple of seasons ago he was playing in China. 22 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. Not terrible for a guy who's 30 years old and hasn't been playing in extremely competitive football. So I feel like this is. It's nice to see him back.
It is.
And it's nice to see him back playing good as well, at an important team, So I think overall, all things considered, they should be happy to have him.
You remember him when we were young, right?
I sure do. I used to be so scared that United have to face him in the Champions League. I used to be like, oh God, I can't see Milan beat United again. It has to be this motherfucker with the stupidest mohawk to beat us. So I was always really terrified, actually.
He was so good back then.
He was
such a hot talent.
He was sensational.
And if you had to watch what he's doing at Roma now, like if you had to show a kid who's watching teenage El Shaarawy play and you have to show him this is what he does now, they'd be like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
When in reality, we're just happy because he's actually playing at the highest level again after spending some time out in China.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so off we go into the game. Have I spoken about the lineups? No, I have not. Lineups are as follows. We have a 3-4-2-1 for Torino with Milinkovic-Savic as the goalkeeper. We have Bongiorno, Schürrle and Gravillon in defense. We have Rodriguez, Genitals, Ricci and Singo in midfield. We've got Radonjic, Miranchuk and Sanabria up front. We then have the same formation again in the second game week that I'm choosing in a row. First Lecce with the 4-3-3 and then same thing for Napoli. And here we go again. We have a 3-4-2-1 for Roma with Solbakken up front. We have Dybala and El Shaarawy as the supporting attackers, strikers, whatever you want to call them. We've got Zalewski, Cristante, Wijnaldum and Spinazzola as the midfielders, with Mancini, Smalling and Lorente in defence, Patricio in goal. So off we go to the game itself. Basically, one thing to mention, and I think it's going to be probably my main talking point, is this game couldn't have started off worse for Torino, with pretty much Roma's first chance on goal. Zalewski was charging down the right flank. He moved into the 18-yard area. He cracked a shot towards goal. Schurz tried to block it as best he could, but unfortunately clearly handled the ball inside the box. Penalty. Clear penalty.
It was almost like a slide forward, right?
It was like, I just want to give you guys a penalty. Here you go.
Another
comedy of the week again.
And then the Milan game, the comical one would be the Origi spin, by the way, for sure.
Oh, he was. I genuinely felt that he's practicing some kind of dance moves for the ladies in Milan or something. I don't know what's going on there. But anyways, in the 8th minute, Mr. Clinical this season steps up and slots the ball in the middle of the goal. 1-0. Dybala has been sensational. Yes. Basically, the first half was pretty quiet. This definitely changed the game plan for both teams, I believe. And apart from one long shot from Rodriguez, there was not much to point out for this first half. And Roma were just basically absorbing the Torino pressure.
Rodriguez has never scored for Torino.
I know that, man. I wanted to mention
it. Shit, I stole your thought there.
No, it's fine. He has never scored, man.
That's crazy.
It is very crazy.
Never thinking about him in fantasy football ever again. I don't know why he's always on my paper.
There you go, man. Pick him next year, please.
Yeah, never.
Second half was way more fiery. Torino came out with a lot of more passion and enthusiasm. Miranchuk coming close to a goal with a header towards goal, which was well saved by Rui. There were lots of battles in the midfield. It was back and forth, but the main and last point to talk about was 4 minutes on the end of the game. Matic won the ball in the middle of the field. He then released a charging Tammy Abrams who was going down the left flank. He chops the ball and then releases a curling shot. And I believe that if he was playing American football, he would have gone 3 points.
It wasn't that bad,
bro.
It wasn't that bad.
It was way off target.
Oh, come on.
It was way off target.
It was high and it was wide, but it wasn't that bad. No, I mean, he had just come on. He was on the pitch for 7 minutes.
And?
So, I mean, he didn't really have the opportunity to warm himself up to get the field.
All I'm saying, he's just playing the wrong sport. If he was playing American football, he would get 3 points for the team. So I mean, I'm just telling you, I might send a message. I don't know. We'll see.
But his technique, not to like
his technique was good there.
But it always surprises me when you see a tree-like figure like Tammy Abraham chopping and like doing these step overs and these tidy little tricks with their feet. It's nice to see.
It is nice to see. But it's not nice to see how he finishes.
No.
Yeah, so that's the end of the game. 1-0 for Roma. Kind of, standard day in the office for Roma. Yes. They got this through to the end and basically they did what had to be done. Roma were relatively unchallenged in this game. There were a couple of chances for Torino, but nothing where you say, oh, how unlucky Torino should have come close to, should have got the equalizer.
I think the best moment they had was the Miranchuk.
That was Miranchuk had a great. I think that was it was a really good save. Like Rui had a brilliant save. It was goal bound and it was it was really well saved.
His only save of the game was
it was a very important one as well.
Yeah,
hugely important. Defense looked really solid for Roma again. Mourinho seems to have really strong system now at the back. And what's interesting is, that if any of these defenders start to look out of sorts, he's got Ibanez hungry to come back into that squad and be like, hey, I want my spot back. So I really like how he how he sticks to at least 2 defenders at the back, and he's always playing with the last one. You know, like whoever's not playing too well, you better watch out because your spot's going to be replaced.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot, and I think it really helps to bring them continuity at the back. Roma aren't playing brilliant football, but they're playing better than they were at the beginning of the season, where basically you'd watch a game from Roma and they would not have one single attack being strong. More is happening. It's not enough, definitely. It's not enough that you expect from a team like this.
Having Wijnaldum and Spinazzola helps a lot.
It is helping, and you can see that it's helping. But one point I wanted to mention was the fact that they don't have a proper number 9 must also be a reason. I mean, they have Dybala, and this is my last point to mention, they have Dybala playing as that false 9, and it works, but I don't think it works for a full game. I think at a point, Dybala then tends to have a shift downwards in his game. He gets tired, he needs more support, and I think as the game goes on and Roma don't get a goal, I think they really begin to struggle then.
Yeah, totally. You look at the system, it's like Dybala and the Giants, no?
Yeah.
Dybala and the Jumpers. You know, like, this team it's crazy how you could highlight the importance of every player, and it's so simple. Like, it's like, okay, you got Spinazzola, Zalewski, fast drive. Cristante, big, strong. Mancini, Smalling.
Maybe Wijnaldum a bit that like flex player in the middle.
Yeah, kind of the engine, right?
Yeah.
But Mourinho knows exactly what this team is good at, and he prepares them for that. And he's instilled this mentality in them that if you get an early goal, you are not fucking conceding.
No.
You are not conceding.
No.
That's the last thing that's going to happen.
And they're really calm. I like how composed they are. It's nice to see a very composed team. Not Sassuolo, basically.
Have you heard, by the way, of the Cassano?
I've been seeing all this beef. I've been seeing all this beef going on. It looks like two girls and the boyfriend they can't the guy that they can't clutch onto. They look like 2 whiny little bitches, in my opinion.
Bro, it's hilarious. Though.
It's comical.
It's petty. That's what
it is
petty.
beyond. It is Italian pettiness at its best.
So you know what's going on, like.
I've been following, but to be honest, these things tend to really uninterest me very quickly. So I kind of switched off from it.
For the listeners, quickly though. Basically, Cassano contrasted Mourinho to Sarri, saying that Sarri loves football and he's got this passion for the game, where Mourinho doesn't give a fuck. And that's the quote. He said Mourinho doesn't give a fuck about playing beautiful football, he doesn't give a fuck about football. Then Mourinho hit back and he entered his mental archives, you know, he looked through them a bit and he found some shit on Cassano. Apparently, Mourinho often hits out at these people with random obscure stats.
He must have that notebook that he's been carrying around for years.
It's like, okay, let's look for the Cassano roast, okay? He's remembered in Madrid for his jacket because he wore a funny jacket when he went to sign. He said he never won anything with the teams he's been at, blah, 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 even though Cassano actually won the Scudetto with Milan in 2011. But yes, now Cassano has hit back and said that Mourinho basically has proved him right in a way that he's always craving attention. Mourinho mentioned some fight that Cassano had with an obscure player back in his Inter days, and Cassano was like, how the hell did you even know about that? Like, apparently the whole team had split them up, but they were friends 3 days later. Mourinho's bringing this up all these years later. Look how petty he is in a fucking interview. Yes, but yeah, that's it. Cassano's quite the character. And he also said, Mourinho, that some people are serious in this industry. Cassano's just having fun, right, in this industry. And then it got me thinking, in this industry, what are we doing?
Me and you?
Yeah. And Matt, of course.
I suppose
because we are having fun.
You're having fun, but you're also giving a well professionally organized podcast, game in, game. It's not fun. It has a fun twist to it.
Yeah.
But it's very serious in its intent. Of course, you don't try to be serious people. You love your jokes. You love to keep it a bit fresh and a bit soft and a bit loose. So it's a serious podcast in a loose way.
Ooh, okay. Loosely serious. I like that. That's our new motto.
That's why I like my women.
Or seriously loose.
That could also be a thing.
All right.
Okay, so for the standings and to end this game here, we have Roma sitting in 3rd with 53 points and Torino in 11th with 38 points.
The next match we're going to be covering is Salernitana 1, Inter 1. The Milan clubs cannot catch a break. Inter and Salernitana had actually never drawn in Serie A before last weekend. Inter had won 5 of those meetings, including the 2 in the 21st century compared to 2 for Salernitana in 1948 and 1999. Salernitana have drawn their last 5 league matches for the first time in their Serie A history. That's a fun little stat for Salernitana over there. And Salernitana became Romelu Lukaku's 60th different opponent in the Big 5 European leagues.
Sure.
He has found the net against 48 of those sides. However, excluding penalties, Lukaku's last league goal was back in August at the Via del Mare against Lecce. Ay, indeed. Inter loanee Lorenzo Pirola was at the back for Salernitana, and their ex-midfielder, winger Candreva, of course, featured on that Salernitana side too. Let's get into it in detail. 3-4-2-1 formation for Salernitana with Guillermo Ochoa, larger than God himself, in goal. Pirola, Gyomber and Danilovic were at the back, with Bradaric on the left and Bron on the right. Vilena and Koulibaly formed the midfield double pivot. Candreva was out wide on the left, with Castanos out on the right, with Piontek as the spearhead over there. For Inzaghi's Inter, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Onana in goal, Darmian, Devray and Acerbi at the back, with Dumfries on the right wing. Gosens was on the left wing, with Mkhitaryan, Aslani and Barella in the middle. Correa and Lukaku formed the striking partnership up front. Now, in the 6th minute, Lukaku headed down a long ball and found Robin Gosens running forward inside the box. The German sent a first-time effort curling into the top corner, Inter's first goal from open play in over 400 minutes of football. Inter controlled the remainder of the first half with 60% ball possession and 11 shots, 5 of them on target, including a big miss by Big Rom, who headed directly at Ochoa after Dumfries' cross, and Salernitana only had 1 shot in the first half. The second half started in the same way for Inter, with Barella striking the post in the 49th minute. In the 64th minute was Lukaku's diving header that hit the crossbar after an Aslani corner. Dia came on and changed the game for Salernitana shortly after. He even hit the post through a very close range volley. But the magic happened in the 90th minute, as it seemed to be all done and dusted. Dia couldn't really make the difference for Salernitana despite his efforts, and everyone thought that Inter were going to get a standard 1-0 victory and return to winning ways. Oh, were they wrong. Antonio Candreva pulled the hosts level with a looping mishit cross from the touchline that somehow beat Andrea Onana and tucked into the top corner. All the way from downtown on the right, Antonio Candreva, the man whose crosses are so wildly inaccurate they sometimes end up in the back of the net.
You ever watch those cartoons where they're playing football and the ball just does zigzags and loop-de-loops and goes up and down and stuff? That's exactly how Candreva crosses the ball.
Yeah.
And it ends up going in.
Exactly. It's just random, right? No one knows.
It's just random. You're just watching and saying, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, please nothing mine. That's what you're thinking. Please nothing mine. It's the same story every week for Inter, who dominate but can't seem to win a match. It seems harsh to criticize them for this one.
I like how you've added an emote.
Yeah.
You haven't added an emote in any of your notes for the last 3 game weeks, but you feel the pleasure to mention that they haven't lost a game. But you've also not won against Empoli, so...
Yeah, no, for sure. And in fact, I criticize both teams equally. And in fact, I think that it's harsh. The criticism that both teams are facing for this performance this weekend is harsh, because they totally outplayed the opponent. Yes, you look at Milan, for example. That there was a Rebic chance at the beginning of the game, that they missed 1-on-1. What more they can purely do? Like, you're putting these players in positions to succeed, and they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Inzaghi. I don't know how he looks Lukaku in the eyes nowadays, dude. He's missing so many chances. I don't know how he can look him in the eye at the moment. Now listen to this. Listen to this. Inter took 25 shots, 11 of which were on target, and limited Salernitana to just 3 on target. Ochoa had 10 saves, 9 of which came from inside the area.
He's insane.
Conceding only 1 when the XG was 2.57.
Holy moly, man.
Yeah, what a
This
performance.
guy is a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast. Like, what a signing they've made. In a way, thank God they fucking... In a way, I like Sepe, but thank God Sepe got injured.
Yeah, honestly, because it's unfair to bench Sepe.
It is.
As well. But, when you have a guy like Ochoa, it's cat-like. Honestly,
He
cat-like.
is. He, I don't know what the hell he takes or what he does, but holy cow, man.
Yeah. This was, I think, Gosens' best performance this season. Of course, not only because of the goal. I don't like to be that guy. No, he scored, so it was his best. But he actually looked sharp.
He looked menacing down the left.
Mm-hmm. And we haven't said that often.
We haven't. I don't think I've ever said that for Gosens in an Inter shirt. So
yeah.
So it was good.
Yeah. Great game by Aslani, who barely gets any minutes from Inzaghi. He had 6 key passes, 5 accurate crosses. Good game for the little midfielder over there. He's got big boots to fill.
He does.
Midfield. And Correa, the invisible man.
I just feel he just doesn't belong in that squad at all. And it's a pity because I think in a different team, at a Torino or at I don't know, like a middle, even a Bologna, I think he could really excel. He's not a bad player.
But isn't he the type of striker who works best as a second striker? Because he's not quite a winger, he's not quite a 9.
Sure, but
so you need a 2-striker formation.
Yeah, fair. I didn't mean those teams in particular. I just meant at a smaller team. I think he could definitely be a key player, a starter. He's never impressed me since he's joined Inter. If you ask me, he's never impressed me. He had a few nice moments, a few streaky nice moments where he was scoring a couple of goals
against Milan,
for example. But apart from that, it's just not been good enough.
Yeah, no, not at all. And it feels like he's one of those players that Inter are bringing in, like these Serie A experienced players who are kind of on the decline almost, like or they're just cheap alternatives rather than on the
I'd say
decline.
That's more of an option. That's more the thing than on the decline. I wouldn't have called Correa on the decline
when he was signed, right? Yeah. But you look at, for example, Correa, cheap alternative, Dzeko, cheap alternative, even Gosens is a cheap alternative at the end of the day. Mkhitaryan's a cheap alternative because the player's going out.
That's for sure.
Yeah. But anyway, bro. Anything you want to say about Inter? You empathize with Inter a lot. You're an Inter empathizer, aren't you?
I am. I feel like they don't do that much wrong, so it's hard to blame the coach. Just like you find it hard to blame Piolin, and I don't particularly like Milan, but I barely ever criticized them actually. Quite the opposite, to be honest with you. And you know I'm not their biggest fan, but I often praise Piolin and often say, why would you sack the manager who has brought you consistency in the last few years? It's pathetic if you ask me.
Agreed.
Now if that happens for 2 seasons, I'll be like, okay, you've got the rights to show him the door, but it was a very short period, and people were already getting impatient, and I felt that wasn't very fair. Inzaghi is running out of time a little bit. I feel like based off how the season's going, Inter kind of already knew they weren't going to win the league, so for them it's not that important almost. But they now run the risk of not qualifying for the Champions League. And that could be an issue.
Of course.
That could be a huge issue for them.
Yes, financially very unstable right now. Talks of a new owner are happening non-stop now. Investcorp have just been mentioned, the guys who were going to buy Milan back in the day. Financially, it would destroy them not qualifying for the Champions League. It would be. They already publicly state that everyone's for sale for the right price. So, yeah. We'll see. Anyway, league standings. So Salernitana currently sit in 15th with 29 points, while Inter sit in 5th with 51 points. Just 1 point out of the top 4, subject to Juve's points deduction.
Exactamento.
You are up.
So we're up to mention the next game, which is Atalanta 0, Bologna 2. As always, we'll go over their form. We have Atalanta with 2 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses. Bologna with 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. Relatively similar form for both sides. However, as I like to mention, it may be similar form, but historically it is far from similar. We have Atalanta with 7 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss versus Bologna, arguably one of their favourite matchups in Serie A. Atalanta have failed to score against Bologna only twice in the last 8 years. In 2015 in a 3-0 loss and in 2021 in a 0-0 draw. It could have been another historic moment for Atalanta, but in a different way. It could have been their 2,500th goal in the Serie A, becoming only the 11th team to achieve this milestone in the top flight. However, as the scoreline alluded to, it was not going to be for this week.
Yeah.
So we can see Lookman celebrate the 2,500th goal next weekend.
Yeah. Højlund at this rate.
Depends. Atalanta had a few changes to the X11 again. We saw the return of Højlund and Lookman back together up front. And on Bologna's side, we saw simply one change, with Soriano coming back into the squad in exchange for Abisher. Other than that, we've had standard teams. I mean, the standard starting 11, and we'll mention that right now. We have a 3-4-1-2 for Atalanta with Musso in goal, Jim City, Palomino and Scalvini at the back. We have Zappa, Costa, De Roon, Ederson and Male in the middle, Pasalic as the attacking midfielder with Lookman and Højlund up front. On the opposing side for Bologna in a 4-2-3-1, we have Sansone up front with Barrow, Ferguson and Soriano as the supporting attackers or midfielders, as you wish, with Moro and Schotten in defensive midfield. And then we've got Kyriakopoulos, Lusumi, Sao Mauro and Posh in defense with Skorupski, the best goaler in the league, at the back.
He had a massive game.
He certainly had a massive game, and if Matt was here, he'd be telling me to go shove it. Yeah. But I'll stick by my choice, and he isn't the second best, but he's definitely a good keeper. No doubt about that. Absolutely not whatsoever. Absolutely none whatsoever. I think I've been making so many horrible English mistakes in this podcast that I'm not going to be an English teacher. Anyways, Atalanta started this game very well, actually. They had several chances to score within the first 15 minutes, the best of those coming from a Højlund chance. He received the ball wide, way up the pitch. He then found Lookman in space down the middle, who then plays the ball back into the dashing Højlund, who manages to find enough space to be 1v1 versus Skorupski. But with a poor finish, Skorupski managed to get a hand onto the ball. However, the play wasn't over then, just yet. There was Højlund then receiving the ball again from the parried shot, who he had an empty chance at goal. He took his time and then only shot the ball into a bunch of Bologna defenders. There were better choices available for him. That could easily be said. The first half was then continuously bossed by Atalanta. They still didn't manage to find a chance to score, or to break the deadlock rather than chance to score. And that's how the first half ended. The second half started probably as best Mr. Thiago Motta could have wished for. In the 48th minute, just 2 games after the restart, Bologna looked full of spirit and full of passion. Sansone dribbled past 2 players on the right hand side. He then passed the ball to Barrow, asking for the return ball. Barrow, with some luck, must be said, managed to sneak the ball into Sansone's path. 1v1, lovely finish, 1-0. Yeah. There were a couple of other chances during the second half. Højlund had another chance at goal. He had a strong header, which was again saved by Skorupski. There were a number of other chances for both sides. Zirkzee came close, and then in the 80th minute, 2-0, Zirkzee managed to get the ball in the middle of the park. He charged forward and then played a lovely pass to Orsolini. He was pushing towards goal. He then slid his way past Palomino and thundered a shot towards goal. Musso didn't really have a chance there. Overall, those were the main highlights of the game. Skorupski, in my opinion, was the MVP with several saves, to keep the score in Bologna's favor, and overall a very commanding display. It must have been very demoralizing for Atalanta to not be able to get a goal for the team and hopefully scraped the game back to a draw. So I feel like Skorupski was fundamental in this game, in this win, especially when you see in the first half that Atalanta had so many opportunities to go up front, to go in front, and I feel like he was huge. There's no other way to.
My favorite moment of this game was when Orsolini scored the tap-in after Zirkzee shot
the one
was
with the
saved.
offside.
Yeah, he ripped his shirt off, threw it up in the air, and went celebrating. And the referee instantly was like waving. He's like, "What the fuck? How you doing?" Gave him a yellow card. Like linesman had this flag up the entire time.
What a meme!
And then he scored right after. He couldn't take his shirt off. I bet he was dying to.
I bet he was. Oh well.
So funny. But on another point, while we're on Bologna, bro, Zirkzee is one of the most aesthetically pleasing players in the league. I think his play style.
He's got a very he's a strong, fast player with a lot of skill to him,
technique,
and very good technique. That's the right word, exactly. I just don't feel like he has the finishing product up front yet, and I maybe at another season with Motta that could change. We'll see. So 2-0 to Bologna, another great win for them. They must be ecstatic with the way they've been playing. A couple of points to mention, just two in fact. In my opinion, Atalanta's dream of top 4 is well and truly dead. It can only take a miracle now for them to come and claw themselves back up into the top 4. Of course, it's not impossible, but it would require a lot of misfiring for the teams in front of them, which are Milan, Inter, and Roma.
Yeah, I mean, a loss and a draw is all it takes.
Sure, dude, but it's a loss and a draw,
and
you've got to win both, and then you've got to keep winning as well, because it can happen that the next 2 games there are losses and draws for both of those teams up front, and then Atalanta win 2 games. But you have to keep in mind, Atalanta have to play Juventus, they have to play Fiorentina, they've got to play Napoli, I believe. So there are still a number of games left which are very important for them, and that's why I meant they had to win this game, I believe.
It's almost like the more time passes, the more disjointed they become as a squad.
I think the main point for me is that, and we spoke about this at the beginning of the pod. I don't know, we actually spoke about it while having coffee. We spoke about the fact that I feel like this constant change of the starting lineup is actually detrimental to the squad now. You can't have such a small squad and constantly keep rotating it. I feel like Gasperini is a bit stuck in his own way now, and it's not working, and he has to adapt.
Yes, perhaps it's time to give Muriel and Zapata more time on the bench.
You want a different opinion?
Yeah.
I think it's time for a new coach as well.
Time for honestly, sometimes
I want Gasperini not to stop playing football. I want him to go to a bigger team.
Yeah, apparently
I want to see him at Inter.
He's rumored to be. He's already been at Inter.
So doesn't mean he can't go back.
Yeah, but he's a very, very petty, spiteful man, and I don't think that he'll ever go back to a team that
you never know
that sacked him previously, and they sacked him very quickly. Atletico Madrid apparently appreciate his and I do imagine what he can do with them.
I can imagine that. Yeah, it could be interesting. But I think it's slowly becoming time for that. But we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. You can't really blame Gasperini all too much. Atalanta decided to offload half the team this season without many reinforcements.
Yeah.
So he's also not doing too bad with the squad he's got either.
No, not bad at all. I mean, he's got them up there now fighting for Champions League.
So yeah. I mean, critique where it's due, but let's not be too hard as well.
Yeah.
One other point, and something very interesting to note: Bologna's insane form at the moment. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a small dream, and that dream is European football. Mm-hmm. And do you want to know the last time Bologna have smelt and played European football?
When was that?
It was back in 2000 in the UEFA Cup.
Oh my God.
So imagine Bologna this team from Emilia-Romagna back in the European top flight.
I wonder who was in their squad back then.
I mean, absolutely.
Castellini, Brioschi, Giovanni Bia.
No clue, dude.
Clayton.
Clayton. It sounds like a very Maltese name.
Clayton. Was there anyone notable? Giuseppe Signori was their prolific goal scorer.
Well,
that's all.
That's
Anyway,
about it. Apart from people that I have no idea about, it could be the rise of Bologna again. But I'm being a bit sensational, as I like to say, and I feel like it's fun to be for a team like Bologna. It could be really cool to see them back in the Europa League, for example, or the Conference League for all that matter.
They were in limbo for a while with the whole Mihailovic situation.
They were, and it feels like now they've gone past that, and they have a squad where, with a couple of tweaks and changes and maybe a proper striker, they could be a formidable force next season.
For sure.
I'd like to see that at least. So to mention the standings, we have Atalanta in 6th with 48 points. Bologna creeping up Atalanta's bottom in 8th with 43.
Fantastic. So Fiorentina.
What's fantastic? Someone creeping up your bottom?
Someone creeping up your bottom sounds.
Well, it depends.
Refreshing.
Oh,
Fiorentina won.
So you're insinuating that someone's using their tongue, or it's more of a...
There are children listening. Mintoff. Children who just want to... Imagine right now, like a kid listening to this podcast.
Dude, the podcast 18 plus.
Out loud. It was explicit actually when we first released, but we stopped doing it.
Well.
Imagine that though. What are you listening to, son? No, just these guys, they talk about football. You're talking about licking the ass or fingering it.
I mean, man, what can I say? I'm a man of exquisite tastes.
Fair enough. Fiorentina won, Spezia won. Now this was a game that couldn't have contrasted more stylistically. Now, you look at Fiorentina, who literally burst a vein trying these complicated moves, these pass and goes, triangles everywhere all over the pitch, trying to work the ball into the box. And then you literally have Spezia, who, by the way, got their goal by hoofing the ball upfield. Dragowski just canted the ball up to Inzola, who just out-muscled and scored, by the way.
Yep.
So it's just two completely different styles, and watching them face off is actually quite fun. It's like something like,
Stupid question, is Gotti still the Spezia manager? No, he got sacked, right?
No, he's been sacked since, I believe it's Semplici.
Yes, you're correct, you are.
So yes, Fiorentina are actually unbeaten against Spezia in Serie A with 4 wins and 2 draws. Fiorentina had always scored at least 2 goals in every game they played against Spezia in the competition, bar this one of course. After failing to score in his first 3 matches against Fiorentina in Serie A, Mbala Inzola scored in the reverse fixture in October. The striker has scored 6 of Spezia's 9 away goals in Serie A this season, yes. Vincenzo Italiano opted for Riccardo Sottil and Gaetano Castrovilli, while Semplici, returning to his hometown, brought in a guy whose name I cannot pronounce.
Can you please try?
Wisniewski.
Can you try really quickly? No, you can't look at...
Przemysław Wisniewski.
Look away.
Look away.
Wait, hold on, look away.
Okay.
And now in 3, when I count down, you have to just look at the name and just say it.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Przemysław Wisniewski. Yeah, there we go. It gets easier. Sisman Zurkowski and Daniel Maldini came into the lineup this time round. For Italianos, 4-2-3-1. Terracciano was in goal, Biraghi on the left and Dodo on the right, with Igor and Martinez Quarta forming the centre-back duo.
Am I a child because I laugh at these names?
No, it's fine.
Dodo.
You should have heard us the first time we saw Cremonese starting 11, my brother. We're gonna die, dude. Lakshofsvili and fucking Pickle.
Oh, Pickle.
Oh,
man.
dude.
Goodness me, man.
Mandragora, Castrovilli were in the middle with Sottil out on the left and Licone out on the right. Bonaventura was playing behind Artur Cabral. For Spezia, it was Dragowski in goal with Amjan as the right back and Nicolau as the left back. Ampadu and Wisniewski were the centre back partners there. Burabia, Ekdal and Zurkowski were in the middle with Jazi playing on the right, Maldini on the left and Inzola up front. Now, Fiorentina actually struggled with Spezia's early pressure, but took control after the first 10 minutes, playing some neat football and creating decent crossing situations, particularly from the left-hand side. It was in the 25th minute that Biraghi actually managed to break the deadlock as he drove into the area after intercepting a ball. His cross was deflected into the back of the net by Wisniewski. So, difficult name and difficult game for you, Wisniewski. In the 32nd minute, Spezia used their cheat code as Dragowski decided, you know what, I've had enough, we're losing, it's been almost 10 minutes of us losing, let's give him the ball. So he hoofed the ball up to Nzola, who outmuscled one of the strongest centre-backs in the league in Igor, made him look like he was like an under 12 and he was a fully grown man, like basically. He finished all on his own. Nzola there, he took it down, he turned, he shot, and he was the only guy who looked good in this situation. Igor and Terracciano were very suspect. Igor, of course, with the just allowing him to literally outmuscle him, or sticking to the theme that we were on before, slip one up his bum. When it comes to Terracciano, he kind of hesitated. No, he came out but didn't commit.
Yeah. Maybe he expected Igor to do better there, and he was kind of taken aback.
Probably.
Yeah.
Arthur Cabral nearly retook the lead moments later with his 100th overhead kick of the season. It crashed off the crossbar. He's getting pretty good at them.
Yes. I think he really likes Wayne Rooney's goal.
Yeah, he's City, right?
I can just imagine him at home, like on his bed, just practicing there every day.
Yeah.
His bicycle kicks.
His girl's like, Arthur, come to bed.
Arthur, can we just spend some time together? No! I've got to practice my overhead kicks.
Josip Brekalo nearly made an instant impact, dribbling his man and shooting, but his shot pinged off the crossbar. Biraghi struck the bar with a free kick 10 minutes later, but Dragowski made an unbelievable save to keep the deadlock. Luka Jovic, who was through one-on-one after a lovely turn, dinked the ball just wide. It bounced just wide, tried to kind of chip it over there. And then at the very end of the game, at the death, Spezia found themselves in a 2v1 situation against the goalkeeper. Eldor Shomorodov decided to attempt to chip the goalkeeper.
Again, he wanted to have two chips in two games.
Exactly.
Very smart.
Really, really clever play over there by Shomorodov, who, while Spezia are fighting for their life, the guy they've brought in on loan is just trying to score cool goals and complete personal objectives instead of actually.
Does he get a better finishing if he chips?
I think if you score a chip, you go into the next game with a 1-goal lead. Like,
oh, really?
That must be
that must be a thing.
So the win streak is over after a hard-fought and unlucky outing for Fiorentina, but the undefeated streak still stands, bro. Thoughts?
I mean, I feel like Fiorentina were never going to come into this game feeling this is going to be easy. I don't think you go to Spezia and feel like it's going to be an easy game.
Definitely, never.
And arguably they're far from good this season, Spezia that is, and Fiorentina are definitely looking much better. However, I feel as though, I will say that Fiorentina should have won this game. They had better chances and they had more of them. And they hit the bar so many times that you have to say, like, they did get unlucky.
Yeah.
They did get unlucky. I hate saying that in football, but sometimes it is the case. And I feel like here it was a little bit the case, you know. I mean, you know, it was just like they hit the bar 3 times.
Yes,
you know,
yes, very unlucky.
And they played well overall.
They dominated in every single aspect.
But I think that maybe they should have just played for the easier goal.
Yeah,
you know?
Honestly, I feel that so much with Fiorentina, man. Sometimes they overcomplicate everything.
You know, tap in. I know you don't like scoring tap ins, but they're a thing, you know.
Yeah. And honestly, you've got the massive brain of Riccardo Saponara on the bench. You don't throw him on for 10 minutes over here. He might have been able to unlock something.
I don't think the Italian particularly likes the guy.
He loves him, bro.
He loves him.
Bro, he loves him. He brought him with him from Spezia. He loves to actually, like, I think if it were many other coaches, like these modern coaches with their gegenpress and all that stuff, I wouldn't even get a sniff at Fiorentina. But the fact that he plays as much as he does shows that Italiano really values the great mind of Riccardo Saponara.
Fair enough. I'll take an L there.
There we go, 2-1. Fiorentina have a trip to Poznan in Poland, where Lech await.
Ooh.
Lech.
Lech, no, it's Lech Poznan. Lech Poznan.
Lech Poznan.
That's going to be a tough one.
Are they going to win the Conference League, my brother?
I believe they are. I believe
what
they are.
fun.
I believe they are the. I believe it's for them to lose now.
Yeah.
I believe it's for them to lose now, and I think that they've got a brilliant chance at doing so. And they've also got a brilliant chance of potentially getting Europa League as well. So if they slip up in the conference, they have a chance to simply get there from league position on its own,
or Coppa Italia victory.
So they're looking good. I'm happy to see them up there again. They're looking like a good team, and they're making well. They're doing well. Sorry, with the team that they've got. Yeah. And yeah, I think that they've got good chances now.
Yeah, totally. They are making very well.
They're making very well.
Fiorentina currently sit in 9th with 41 points, while Spezia sit in 17th with 26 points. Brother.
Yes, it is getting pretty hot down under, as they say. But something else which was pretty hot, the next game was pretty hot. And not for Sassuolo. Verona 2, Sassuolo 1. We'll go and crack onto the form. We have Verona with 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses, as opposed to Sassuolo with 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. And it seems to be a common occurrence in the matches I've picked this week. Totally one-sided historically. We've got Sassuolo with 7 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses against Verona in the last 10 games. Very, very one-sided. Sassuolo had come into this game rather with strong form, and they've been managing to claw their way to wins, which is something very uncharacteristic of this team, as they usually throw them away at the end of games rather than claw through them. Sassuolo have also won their last 4 Serie A away games against Hellas Verona in the top flight, their current longest open streak of away wins for the Nero Verdi. Seems like Hellas Verona was a nice team to play for this team, and unfortunately it wasn't the case for this game week. But anywho, some other points to note, and one very interesting stat which I think that you will very much appreciate in particular. Hellas Verona have fielded 11 players in Serie A this season born from 2001 onwards. A record in this campaign. Only Rennes with 13 have done better in the Big 5 European leagues in 22-23 season.
There we go. These guys, they're going to continue to grow in Serie B.
Yes, and then they're going to continue to grow in Serie C. And then when the team has declared for bankruptcy, the team will declare that the young kids are going to go back to being accountants.
Yeah, there we go.
So another point to mention is that only Lazio have registered higher shooting accuracy than Sassuolo with 49.6% in the current campaign. Only Lecce have a lower shooting accuracy than Hellas Verona. So we're seeing the second best shooting accurate team against the second worst shooting accurate team in the league. And I think this game also, if you didn't have that stat in your mind, you could see that clearly from the game itself, based off how many chances Sassuolo had compared with Verona. To mention and to go over the starting lineups and some notable changes, we have Verona with their main man Montipo returning in goal, and Terracciano this time starting in midfield, which is nice to see. Sassuolo saw 2 changes to their team. Ehrlich coming in for defensive duties in exchange for Ferrari, which is something which doesn't often happen, but it was an interesting decision for Dionisi. And then we have Haroui coming in for Luis Enrique. As for the starting lineups, we see Verona with a 3-4-2-1 with Montipo in goal, Magnani, Hein and Tamez at the back, Faraoni, Terracciano, Veloso and Doig in the midfield, Duda and Verdi as supporting midfielders, and Lasagna up front. We then have Sassuolo in a 4-3-3 formation, their classic this season, with Consigli in goal, Rogerio, Tresoldi, Ehrlich and Tolian at the back, Haroui, Lopez and Frattesi in the midfield, and Loriente, Pinamonti and Berardi to wrap up the strike force. to start off with this game and its chances and things of note. Can't really speak English anymore. In the 34th minute, 1-0 with Berardi doing Berardi things, as I like to say. He gets the ball on the edge of the box. He begins dancing towards goal, almost charging as if he was heading towards the near post. He likes to do that. He likes to get the ball. He likes to go almost towards like the edge of the byline. Is it the byline?
It is the byline.
The edge of the byline, and then either take a wicked shot or cross, as he likes to do as well. And that's what he did. He plays a beautiful cross, and Haraway smashes his header towards goal, and it goes in. No chance for Montepone on that one.
And even the way Berardi assisted him there, it's almost like he hit it so hard
that he just had to bounce
off his head. Like he just used him to score the goal.
It was just so nice to see Berardi doing that. Just lovely to see him score contributing this way, and he contributed excellently here. That was mostly it for the first half. In the second half, Sassuolo had an array of different chances to score. Chances for Pinamonti. He had his shot saved by Montepone. Berardi came close from a finish on the right hand flank. Rogerio had a thunderous shot which went straight into Montepone. There were a number of chances basically that Sassuolo had, all on target apart from Berardi's. However, they all didn't result in a goal, unfortunately, and I mean that's something to be said for talking points. 1-1 in the 84th minute. A good corner routine. A cross into the near post found its way to Ceccherini, who heads the ball towards the near post. Consili could have done better for this one. It wasn't the best header I've seen, but you know, headers are headers. They're never easy to save in general, so I'll give it to him. I'll give Consili the benefit of the doubt there. Good goal for Ceccherini. He the scorer of the reverse fixture and the scorer in this fixture as well for Verona. Yes.
Massive impact of the bench, huh?
Massive impact. However, probably the joke of the game, the comedy of the week. 2-1, 94th minute. Erlich gets the ball after Sassuolo failed to score from another chance. He then looks towards his goalkeeper. He decides to play the ball back to Consili, who's about 35 yards out. Consili has no pressure. So, a situation where he's not under pressure. He has two Verona attackers charging towards him. And it's 1 minute before the game's meant to end. Probably less than 40 seconds left. What does one do in a scenario like that? You can shoot the ball to Christ.
Yeah.
You can pass the ball for a throw-in. You can turn around and start running towards your own goal. You can do literally anything you want. And the man decides to pass the ball back to the defender he just got the ball from. A defender who's not renowned for being very fast, might I add. And instead passes to the attacking player, Gaich, who has an empty net to shoot from. Arguably a very hard chance nonetheless. Decides to shoot from all the way out there. And he manages to score.
Yeah. The thing is, Consili didn't even run back.
Dude, I mean, to be honest, I think Consili just realized he massively fucked it up. But I've never seen him that laissez-faire. I've never seen him so nonchalant, and that was a shocker for me. I had my mouth open, and I said, you know what, this is classic Sassuolo. But to do it in this way, to concede a goal in that manner, is absolutely diabolical. Apparently, I have a theory that apparently Sassuolo just don't want to see Verona relegated.
Maybe.
I mean, I have no other explanation. I can't see any logic in that decision. Like, it wasn't like a mishit pass. It was just like, here's the ball. Here you go. Anywho, I'm gonna stop ranting. That's how the game ended, 2-1, and yeah, Sassuolo will definitely feel beaten up. Or they feel like beating themselves up, rather, for how they've lost that game as such. They've lost that game in 10 minutes when they've bossed the game for over 75 of it. So, hard pill to swallow, but Sassuolo have often done hard pills down at the club, so you never know. You never know how it feels when you've taken too many.
You look at the likes of Berardi, Harui, Frattesi, and Lorente, who worked so hard to try to get the lead this game.
They wanted it as well, but often had the wrong decision as well.
But then these guys were all subbed off, right? And they were subbed off, and then boom, suddenly 2 goals. How must they feel, man?
They must feel hard done by, for sure. And I wouldn't blame them. I'd be fucking pissed. I'd be pissed as fuck. But hey, sometimes you're the better side, but you still lose, and that was classic example of that. One thing I'd like to mention, a couple of points rather. At the beginning of the season, I know that you and Matt were criticizing Sassuolo very much for their attacking display. Mm-hmm. You felt they were out of ideas. You felt that they looked absolutely invisible. There were reasons behind that. They didn't have Traore. They didn't have Berardi. Yeah. So what I would like to say is I'm happy to see Sassuolo taking chances, shooting, and having a crack at goal. However, there were a couple of attempts in this game where they could have easily played a pass to have a better chance, to have the easier chance. Now, of course, one can criticize that, but I rather see more chances being taken, more selfishness than trying to play the perfect pass. Because the perfect pass results in nothing. If you take a shot towards goal, you never know what's going to happen. Of course, you're banking on luck, but if you're simply waiting for the perfect pass, you're not going to even get luck into the equation.
Yes.
So
the Fiorentina syndrome.
Yeah. So it can be a bit frustrating, but I'd rather see that than not see any passes. That's the logic I took for this point. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I mean, fair enough.
It's been working.
It has been working, yes. And
okay, not in this game, but
Sassuolo certainly improved, and I feel like they are having a few more attempts, going on a few more solo endeavors, like Loriente and Berardi, particularly. And well, we already criticized him slightly, but Consigli was, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh, but it was an absolute joke of a second goal. I'm a bit speechless. I still am a bit speechless. He's been starting to look like he's past his best, but then the problem then lies they don't really have a second keeper. Pegolo is 42 years old. They've got a good one out on loan.
It could be. I'm not up to scratch with who's out on loan keeper wise for Sassuolo, but it's something they should have to be. I think they're gonna have to revisit it soon because I don't know. I think that maybe it's something for you and Matt to evaluate at the end of the season for Sassuolo. Sure. Since I don't believe they're gonna have many. You're not gonna have many talking points for a team which is most likely gonna end up mid-table. But yeah. Sassuolo ended the game week with 37 points in 12th place, where Verona managing to edge themselves out of the relegation zone, still in 18th, 22 points, 4 shy of 17th spot of Spezia. And to move on to the next game, unfortunately you're going to hear my voice for the next 20 minutes or so, since if you're in this podcast. I'm going to have to dip out for the last match review, since I've got to do some father duties. He's a tango dancer, and taxi driver duties are being summoned, so I must, if a taxi driver is being asked to come, the taxi driver doesn't decide to do what he wants. He has to go. And that is my job. And I apologize in general for the fact that I can't speak English today. I'm stammering, and I feel like I've smoked 20 blunts, and I haven't smoked weed in a long time. But anyway, it's been a long day of me doing nothing. So I guess when I do nothing, it just ends up me being a lazy git.
It veggies you out, dude.
I am a vegetable.
There we go.
I am a vegetable.
Be right back.
Yes.
You can go
Be right back. Jake's off. I'm going to do it all on my own, apparently. Okie doke. So we have Sampdoria with 1 win, 1 draw, and 3 losses, as opposed to Cremonese with 0 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. Both teams arguably not on hot form. At least you could say that Sampdoria felt a little bit more confident, at least registering 1 win in the last 5 games. So perhaps they could feel like they have a slight edge over Cremonese. They would have a better feeling if they look into the historic head-to-head for this game week, for against Cremonese, excuse me, with Sampdoria with 6 wins, 3 draws, and 1 loss against this team from Lombardia. A couple of points to mention. Only Hellas Verona have picked up fewer points, 5 on the road, rather than Cremonese with 7 in 7 draws. The Lombardy side have registered the most draws away from home in the top flight in 2022-2023 and are one of the 4 sides along with Stuttgart, Hellas Verona and Almeria in Spain to remain winless on the road in the Big 5 European leagues this season. I mentioned this point because of the fact that they actually managed to get their first win on the road this season.
Yay.
Holy moly, guacamole. So, with that being said, we can then move on to the starting lineups. We have Sampdoria with their 3-4-2-1 with Ravaglia in goal for the injured Audero. We have Zanoli coming in defense, Nuitink, Amione at the back, Leris, Rincon, Winks and Agüello in the midfield, Cuisance, Duricic and Gabbiadini up front. On the opposing side, we have a 3-4-1-2, Dessers and Saidu. Up front, we have Bojanuto as the attacking midfielder, Qualiata, Castagnati, Meita and Giglione in midfield, Loshoshvili, Bianchetti, Ferrari in defense, Carnis Secchi in goal. Other than that, we can now spring on to the highlights. Quite a few, actually.
This was the game of the week.
This was the game of the week, absolutely. If you're bored, if you're having a smoke, if your day's about to end and you just want to watch some great football, a great game. A show of shows. Please go and watch the highlights. It was thoroughly enjoyable. And of course, it wouldn't be thoroughly enjoyable if there wasn't a comedy as well in this game. And there were a couple. So, we'll crack on to the first goal of the game in the 15th minute, 1-0. Juricic unleashes Agüello down the left flank. He whips in a beauty of a cross. Leris on the end of it to smash his header home. The crowd go wild.
Yeah. He hadn't scored.
And he hadn't scored in ages indeed. That lead didn't last all too long. 20 minutes later, 1-1, 35th minute, Saidu turns and passes by Amione. You'll be hearing this phrase quite often in this game. He then opens up space for Qualiata to cross towards goal. The cross then lands all the way towards Giglione on the other side of the box. With his first touch, he tries to play the ball back towards goal. Somehow, his cross ends up goalwards. It loops over Ravaglia, it loops over Nuitink, and it somehow ends up in the bottom corner. It felt like this ball had a bit of Kandreva inspiration, and it was just actually this is a really weird goal if you ask me. Giglione didn't expect to score. He had no plans to score. His idea was to cross the ball back into the box. And instead, he planned to score. So I think for my next handball game, I'm going to pretend to miss. And hopefully, I'll score all of my goals this time. Because when I pretended to want to shoot and score, I missed them all. So maybe I have to change my mindset. Anywho, the first half ended in that fashion. 2-1 ends up being in the 66th minute for Sampdoria. Another beautiful cross by Agüello. This time it finds its way to Lammers. His first goal for Sampdoria. He headers a beautiful cross towards goal. And it goes in 2-1. His first goal for some colours. Like I just said, huge goal. It felt like they were on to win this game as such. Unfortunately, it would not be the case in the 85th minute, 2-2, Cremonese score with Dessers finding his way into the box. He also manages to pass by Amione. He beats his man. Dessers then plays the ball into the middle of the box with Loshoshvili managing to tap in from close range. And then, when you thought it was all over, when you thought that Cremonese were going to get 8 points in 8 draws away from home, apparently not. 95th minute, last action of the game, 2-3, Afena Gian, excuse me, sorry Afena Gian, don't murder me. What?
Afanajan.
He was extremely selfish.
Yeah.
However, again, he passed and managed to beat his man against none other than Amayone, who had an absolute howler of a game. He opened himself up on the right-hand flank. He thundered a shot towards goal. He could have already passed, but anyways, hits the post. The ball then finds itself handsomely to Sir Nicola outside of the box. The man has a lot to do. He passes his man. He then opens himself up and he curls an absolute beauty of a goal into the top corner. His kit flies as high as the stadium itself. Everyone surrounding him. They're jumping with joy. Cremonese win 2-3. What a bloody game. What a bloody way to score. And what a bloody way to give your team the lifeline they may need to survive in this league.
And it's good to see these sides scoring goals and getting a few personal stats as well, for these guys. Like, so many one-off goals for players, because these guys don't score.
They don't really get opportunities. And it seemed like Ballardini just said, you know what, guys? Fuck it, we're pushing all up front for this game and we're going to try and get those goals. And it worked. They pushed and they pushed and they pushed and they managed.
They did. They actually...
They surprised me.
Their late press at the end of the game proved to be deadly.
It was as if, when you feel it's all done, you gather that last bit of energy, you go for that last 100-meter sprint and you really try your best. And it managed to get them the win. So they have to be proud of that performance. 2 points. Samp, are they finished now? After losing against the worst team in the league?
I thought that now with the run of games they might actually start fighting out of the relegation pool, but this was the game to win. It was, and they didn't even draw; they lost it. Yes, so it's looking dire for them.
It is looking dire. I think 1-2 more losses and it's curtains. If you ask me, I really think it is curtains. If you ask me, but yeah. One other point now, Cremonese. Was this a consolation win in an albeit terrible season? Or could this be the resurgence of a team that makes it out of the relegation battle?
Now
keep
they're on
in mind,
16 points.
Exactly.
They're 10 points off of the 17th spot. So it's still a stretch, right?
There's a big stretch.
However,
keep in mind that Spezia and Lecce both aren't hot on form. Particularly Lecce, mind you.
Yes, but Cremonese would need to win a couple more games, and I can't see them doing it. I'd love to see them actually turn it around and survive. I love a good miracle. I love Ballardini. I think
I love him. What a great manager.
But yeah, unfortunately, I think that
it's a little too late.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, fair enough. I mean, I tend to agree with that as well. I do feel this is a consolation win as well, but you never know.
Yeah, it was almost like Pride. No, who's going to finish last?
It could have been. It could have been a fact. It could have been that was the key reason. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, those were my two main points for this one. Didn't really feel there were many talking points for the teams in 20th and 19th.
Yeah.
To wrap it up, Sampdoria end this game week in 20th with 15 points. Cremonese climb up to 19th with 16.
So Mintoff has had to leave us. Thank you very much to him as always for stepping in for Matt while he's away. Not an easy task at all, and he's doing very well in it. So shout out to Mintoff. Thank you very much to you, brother. The last game I'm going to be covering all on my own is Udinese 2, Monza 2. Amongst Serie A, Serie B and the Coppa Italia encounters that these two teams have had, they have faced each other 13 times with 4 victories and 5 draws. 4 victories each, sorry. Monza wanted to win this one after their president Silvio Berlusconi was diagnosed with leukemia. We wish him the best. Terrible news. Of course, big figure over there, important figure for Italian football. This was the third meeting this season between Monza and Udinese. Udinese won in Serie A on August 26th, while Monza won in the Coppa Italia on October 19th. In both these matches, each side has scored, a trend which continued last weekend as they drew 2-2. Matteo Pessina and Destiny Udoji are two of the 5 Serie A players who have covered the most distance with carries this season. 4,369 meters for Pessina, 4,295 meters for Destiny Udoji. Beto has played the same number of games he had in Serie A last term, 28, scoring 2 fewer goals. Last term, his minutes to goal ratio was 198 compared to this term's 200. Stefano Sensi has scored more Serie A goals against Udinese than any other side, with 3. Now, Udinese lined up with a 3-5-2 formation with Silvestri in goal, Newen Perez, Bijol and Becao were at the back, Destiny Udoji was the left wing back, while Eziba was the right wing back, with Samardzic, Wallace and Lovric as the midfield 3. Beto and Success were the striking partnership for this game. For Monza, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation with Di Gregorio in goal, Antov, Mari and Itzo were at the back, with Churia on the right and Carlos Augusto on the left. Rovella and Pessina were in the middle. Colpani and Sensi were the offensive duo behind Valotti this time round. Now, in the 18th minute, Wallace played Lovric through beautifully. Lovric only had the goalkeeper to beat and had enough time to overthink it, but he slipped it past the goalkeeper very coolly and composedly. That's 1-0 for Udinese. In the 48th minute, there was a great cross into the area by Carlos Augusto. Colpani, a good little play over there, converted violently on a fall volley. That's 1-1. In the 56th minute, Sensi played a perfectly weighted ball to Rovella, who smashed it into the roof of the net first time. Rovella's first goal in Serie A, and you can see what it meant to him. That was 2-1 over there for Monza. And then the 91st minute, perhaps, Monza were hard done by as Petagna gave away a penalty. He simply walked into Nestorovski in the area, and Nestorovski essentially just smacked into a brick shithouse and hit the ground. Penalty awarded. Beto sent Di Gregorio the wrong way, and it ended 2-2, perhaps harshly to Monza. I am going to stress this, it was harsh for Monza over there. Really unlucky. They played very good football over here. They played up to Udinese's level, if not better. I look forward to see what they can do in the next Mercato. Monza, because the only way for them is up at the moment. Carlos Augusto must be on the radar for big teams at the moment. I wish I could ask this question and have a discussion with one of my dear friends, Minto or Matt, but it's a shame. We'll save it for next episode. For me, Carlos Augusto must go to a top team next season, even if it's as an understudy to an already established fullback like Theo Hernandez or something, for example. I think it would be a good move for him. Even Inter could use the services of Carlos Augusto. Or an understudy for Kostic at Juve with Cuadrado aging. He's hot property right now, Carlos Augusto. This was a game in which Lovric and Wallace really stepped up in the middle for Udinese. They played very well there. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Udinese currently sit in 10th with 39 points, while Monza are in 13th with 35 points. This was a mid-table battle over here of the highest order. So thank you very much if you've made it this far, guys. Remember to follow us at Serie A Spotlight on our socials. Do send us a message, give us your feedback, tell us what you think. We look forward to seeing you next week for more action, and we'll be discussing the Champions League games as well briefly in the next episode too. Thank you very much. We love you.